What is your favorite anime?
Mine's Skrillex.
Skrillex.
I'm so distanced from human sensibilities and stuff.
Was getting caught part of your plan?
もちろんだ.
This is The Flight Plan, the official podcast of Big Guy for You, Scanlations, Japan's #1 Baneposting manga scanlation podcast. Join the crew, Tom and Aidan, as we bantz about all the anime, the manga, and the scanlation content. Tom, how was your day today?
It was like any other normal day. Went to work, came home, ate dinner, sat down, recorded a podcast.
Excellent. That is the ideal lifestyle for any aspiring scanlator.
Yeah. Well, I probably should have scanlated something today. I didn't do anything today, but we could get into the topic.
Are you saying that our lives are not nearly interesting enough to fill content?
No, I don't think we could even fill as much time as we just filled with it. I think that's how uninteresting our lives are. People come here for the scanlation content, the manga, the anime. Whatever our beginning spiel is.
Well, they come for that, but then they stay for the rich characters that we develop. It's a
That's
human
true.
drama, and our fans just love to hear, our trials and tribulations as we maneuver through this world. We're sort of like role models to the listeners.
Well, yeah, that's true. Our average listener age is like 15, and we are like 35, so it would make sense.
Well, I'm actually a 65-year-old boomer, but
I didn't want to tell anyone.
So this entire thing, I said Bane posting originally, but it's really just boomer posting. This is
Right.
two boomers talking about Japanese cartoons.
Mm-hmm. And Social Security and
Right.
senior discounts. Are we going to edit that out? I think that was bad.
Some of it.
All of it.
Some.
Say, what are we talking about? Restart.
What are we talking about today, Tom?
Well, today is kind of a sequel episode, if you will, to the previous episode, aka episode 1.
Don't you want to watch
What do you
them in
mean?
order to see our characters develop?
I mean, theoretically, yeah, but I assume eventually, once we run out of content, they'll be pretty standalone, evergreen episodes. I don't know. We'll see.
There's so much content that we could be going for at least a decade. I think this is already the longest running Japan's #1 Scanlation Bane posting podcast.
It likely is, yeah, or at least tied. I'm sure there's another with 2 episodes.
In top 5 for sure.
Oh yeah, easily, yeah. But yeah, we're talking about kind of scanlating the first chapter after you've picked what you want to work on. We're gonna go kind of through the ins and outs and the pitfalls that you might run into. Also, kind of the scanlation flow. And I have to say, before we get into it, though, I do have some top of the show business to address. An addendum, if you will, to episode 1. There was episode 1, if you recall, was how to pick a manga to scanlate. And there was one criterion, which is singular form of criteria, that I forgot to mention.
If it has traps or not.
Oh, well, that's something to avoid, definitely. But that actually does kind of go into this. It's also related to judging a book by its cover. I've named it the shelf test. Basically what that is, it's pretty much judging a book by its cover, but also like the contents if someone were to flip through it. So imagine that you had a manga that you scanlated on your bookshelf. And then your friends, family, loved ones, what if one of them came over? They went to your bookshelf for whatever reason. They saw that Chinese scrawlings in book form on your shelf. They pick it up, they flip through it. They say, what the heck is this? And then they disown
I'm
you.
calling the police.
Yeah, so that's a failure of the shelf test, that example. So basically, it's kind of a form of
It's like a normie
almost
test, you're saying,
PR.
basically. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, I like
you
that.
you want to show that you have a very low power level. You don't want some type of weird Shindle L like manga sitting on your desk. So when your family comes to visit, that's what the first thing they see.
Yeah, so basically, it's like no gratuitous panty shots, like no ecchi stuff, no hentai dojins, of course, no probably not even something extremely gory either. I can't think of any examples.
I mean, Gantz is coming to mind, but that's pretty cool. Like that's super normie. You could get away with that.
Yeah, or like Berserk, that's pretty violent too, but that's pretty cool actually. So yeah, actually, violence is cool, kids. So violence passes. Yeah, violence passes the shelf test. Nothing with too many little girls in it, maybe.
Well, that kind of directly contradicts the number one rule that we went through.
No, I
even
said too
clipped
many
that out.
little girls,
Yeah.
like really little girls. Like, you kind of get a feel for it. Maybe not, since you and myself included, we've all spent too much time in the anime world.
All
We might have a
cartoon
skewed,
models depicted here are 18 years old or above.
or 10,000,
5,000, yeah.
as we mentioned. But yeah, that's the shelf test, and I just wanted to go over that because I named it. So, I feel a sense of autistic pride, and I have to mention it.
So are you telling us this is OC do not steal? This is your own term?
That reminds me, shoot, as a quick little aside, Steel Donuts. I wanted to use that as a name for something, like Donut Steal, like do not steal. If I had thought about that before I thought of the name Big Guy For You, I might have gone with that one.
Steel
But
Donuts, that is pretty cool.
that's a parallel universe right there. That's an alternate reality.
If we're already on tangents, I was thinking
Sure.
What you reminded me with the Gantz manga. There's the guy who did Gantz did another manga recently. It's finished now. I don't know when it actually started coming out. I have a friend who recommended it to me. He didn't know the name of it, but he called it Old Iron Man, which is basically
Inuyashiki or something like that.
yeah, that's exactly it.
I have a friend who recommended that to me.
It's pretty.
But I never
legit.
read it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty legit. So what happens is the dude is like, he's an older man, and he's got a little bit of family problems and stuff like that. But then he's out walking the dog he gets diagnosed with cancer, and like he's only got a little bit to live. He doesn't know what to tell his family. Anyway, he's out walking the dog one evening, and him and some other dude just get like disintegrated, and you're like, what happened? And he wakes up like in the field, like naked. He's like, what was that, a dream? What was that? Like, and it turns out that like aliens had accidentally blown up that area, and they recreated him somehow. And he's got all these
Accidentally.
super cool, but he's got like these cool, like he can shoot laser beams and fly, and he's got like jetpacks, and he's like got all the stuff that you would want in a superhero. And it's he goes around. He's like, he never had a life purpose. He was like a depressed salary man, as there's so many of us are.
Right.
And he's like, this has been my life's purpose, is to go around and be a superhero. And that's a cool manga. I recommend it. This has been Aidan's manga recommendation segment.
Manga minute, you might call
Manga
it.
minute. Ooh, that's good. It's
You need
the Manga minute
alliteration.
button. We'll have a intro theme.
Manga minutes.
Manga.
You have to do it like some old like shock jock radio kind of guy. I don't know. I never
Absolutely.
listened to radio.
We're a regular old Cheech and Chong or Opie and Anthony.
No, Cheech and Chong was a movie, right? No, that's Harold and Kumar. What's
That's
Cheech
a Dumb and
Chong?
Dumber.
I don't know. Too
like
many dynamic duos in the
I
world.
think they were Mexican weed lords or something.
No.
Cheech and Chong, yeah.
Chong. That's got to be an Asian thing.
No, I don't know. Who knows?
How many groups can we offend with our ignorance here?
Hey, don't get me started about those Koreans.
I know. I've tried to not get you started on them. We'll have to save that for a special After Dark Korean episode.
That'll be for the paywall. It'll be an omake.
It'll be 18 plus only, and not because of any sexual content, just because of the harsh language used.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, but getting back into the actual topic of this episode, scanlating your first chapter, right? There are a few things special about the first chapter that you need to get right, or at least try to get right. So these
The
are
translation part. You got to get the words to
yeah.
match up to the language that you're translating.
That's true. You have to make sure it's in the right language.
I can't tell you how many times I've started to scanlate something, and I'm like, oh shoot, I did it in Norwegian, and I wanted to release in English. I don't even speak Norwegian.
It's a very easy. When you type all the text into Google Translate, it's easy to hit, I don't know, some other language, Esperanto, right, instead of English, and then just copy paste that into the bubbles. That's how I scanlate. So
Well, that's how all scanlators do. In fact, that's how all
I thought so.
translators do. Yeah. I mean, if you've ever seen Funimation or 4Kids dubs, that's exactly how they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you put a rice ball into Google Translate, it pops out donut.
Yeah. Oh no, my sandwich! And then his sandwich rolls down the hill. It just floats down
The triangle sandwich.
Yeah.
Actually, some sandwiches came in triangles.
You remember that scene? They photoshopped in the sand, like a sandwich, a
Oh,
still
yes.
image of a sandwich, and it
Yeah.
just slid down. It didn't even move. Didn't even roll.
Oh, what do they call that in animation where it's like tweening,
Garbage.
or it's
Yeah.
just
Oh, it wasn't
It's
even
a
tween. It
straight
feels like
line.
it just like it was on a straight path.
But yeah, not only do you have to make sure your language is correct, both target and original language, but you need to do stuff like pick a font. Obviously, this is not a visual medium,
Comic
so I
Sans.
can't show you examples. You could, but you'll probably get those hate comments that you were talking about
Yeah,
last
that I
episode.
will leave.
The way I kind of do it, it's actually different for every property that I've worked on. I like to keep it simple, have like 2 fonts max, maybe like 1 for dialogue and 1 for sound effects and stuff like that. I think I've seen some where they go crazy. They must have like a dedicated typesetter or something.
Yeah, that's
Or
normally
they'll have, like-
multi-team things.
Yeah, they'll have like 2 fonts like per bubble or something if they're like emphasizing one word in a sentence.
Or what's even cooler is like on some dubs and even some mangas, like they'll color different letters depending on who's talking. Like the blue-haired girl will talk in blue, and that seems like a lot
Right.
of work to do.
It is, but some manga, I mean, they're like that in the source material as well, where it's different colored fonts. I can't imagine that any group is actually adding colored font like where there wasn't
I
any
can.
to begin with. Yeah, it's true. Never underestimate
Yeah,
the
never
autism
underestimate
power of anime.
We have the
but-
best autists, don't we, folks?
We have the only autists. If you're autistic, you like anime.
Yeah,
It's like a
absolutely.
square rectangle thing.
We're the #1 Japanese autistic podcast.
Autistic outreach podcast.
The more you know.
Autism Speaks. Are you listening? Or something like that. Also, an important decision to make is if you're going to have it in all caps or not. Now, like I said last time, I don't read a whole lot of scanlated stuff. I'm going to do that hipster bragging garbage.
Oh God, here it
But
comes.
I'm
Brace
pretty
yourself.
sure. No, that was it. But I'm pretty sure most everybody uses like full caps all the time. Can you confirm?
Honestly, I don't even read the words. That when I read manga,
That's
I just
right.
scroll through it and look at the pictures until a cute girl pops up, and then
True,
I look
true,
in
true.
and I kind of see what the gist is that they're saying. I'm one of those elite type of readers that they call speed
Right.
readers.
Yes, professional. Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure most groups do use full caps. And to me, I think that's the most ugly design choice ever. Which I
means
think
they're
it's based
yelling
on.
constantly.
That's what it seems like, yeah. I think it's based on Western comics. I think those are done with all caps too. I don't know. I've literally never read a single Western comic.
You know what?
So I really can't
This will
say.
be a tangent to fill extra time. I started. There's this YouTube video that was recommended to me. It's like the Infinity War Gauntlet, but in the comics, and it went through the entire Avengers Infinity War. But it was done. It's a completely different story, obviously. Now I'm getting like all these comic recommended things, and they're pretty interesting. So I've actually gone through, and I've not read, but I've heard discussed several comics recently. So I'm somewhat of an expert myself in this field, and I can say that there are varying degrees of capological evidences,
Right.
or whatever the words are for that.
Wait, so you mean that some Western comics are full caps and some are not?
Yes, and it looks like the older ones used to be that way. Probably because they had lower DPI in it, so like you could actually see like the dots
Right.
and something. Yeah, so it's like as technology has gotten better and now we're using laser printers, you can focus on doing lower or higher resolution fonts. I think
That
that's
makes a lot
probably
of
what it is.
sense.
I'm totally pulling that out of an unmentionable area, but I think that makes sense. I think it's a sound thing. You can go ahead and write that on your test answers for your essay in class, because I know this podcast is used religiously as a study guide for many of the Japanese 101 courses in university.
Might as well be. Like, shoot.
I mean,
But,
you're going to learn more in this 45 minutes than you will ever in Japanese class.
I don't think we've used any Japanese words this episode, but we'll get at least one. trust me.
Ichidakimasu, which means thank you.
It means rub-a-dub-dub. Thanks for the grub.
Yes, absolutely.
And you say it before you eat.
Lechuga, which is Japanese for tomatoes.
Lettuce.
Exactly. Well, Japanese is a very nuanced language, so it depends on the context. It can either mean tomatoes or lettuce, depending on what you're
Right.
eating. Yeah,
And a BLT is actually bacon, lechuga. It's really confusing.
a BLL, if you will. That's why all if you see a comic at the store and it says BL on it, it means it's about cooking. So you should definitely pick it up.
That's one that would definitely fail the shelf test. Anything BL. So yeah, that's pretty much font stuff. There's not a whole lot to say about font, but we still managed to tangent off for an hour. You're welcome, audience.
Dude, this is that type of quality content that they're breaking out their wallets. They're like, give me some more of this. I'll take my money, take it all.
But I mean, the general trend is like with all these things that I have and will continue to list off. These are things that kind of set the tone and your style. And if you switch them up mid, 10 chapters in, if you start doing things differently, it might come across as weird, especially something like a font. That's a pretty big noticeable change.
Like Duang. Like I was reading normal
I think
JoJo.
Duang used the same font. Oh yeah.
No,
yeah,
I was
that
reading
one.
normal JoJo. In like one chapter, it just switches over to Duang, and I'm like, oh boy, buckle up, I'm in for a ride.
That seriously happened to me too. I was very confused by it.
Yeah.
But similarly, it's stuff like whether you choose to leave in stuff like honorifics,
Which you should.
which
You should. Yeah.
I'm pretty opposed to honorifics. I do use them in one manga, but in none others. And I think I only made that choice in the beginning because I was kind of lazy and I wanted to rush chapter 1. But I don't recommend them in most settings.
Now, are we
But
talking
hey,
about all these words? Like, you should definitely leave in the word senpai. Like, that's
Never.
obvious. Yes.
Never.
There's
Never.
no equivalent word.
Never. I think
no
I've
equivalent word.
used.
You
You,
could
can
use
use
the compliment.
upperclassmen.
No, because you don't say upperclassman Steve.
No,
gotta be senpai
not as a
Steve.
title. But if you're talking about like, oh, did you see those 3 senpai
What
down
about
by
as a title?
You don't need a title.
Ah, man, you are on some thin lines. I think press 1 in the chat if you're on my side for yes, you should use honorifics.
Press 4 kids in the chat if you're on my side.
Yeah, well, we're all gonna have squirt guns at that point. Squirt guns and ham sandwiches,
Lollipops.
donuts. Yeah, absolutely.
Lollipops.
Lollipop. Yeah, totally forgot about that one. Yeah, smoker. They edited out the cigarettes, but he's still smoking constantly out of his mouth. Like it's like, where does the smoke come from? So what's the next rule we got for this?
Well, the next thing that you need to lock and load before you finish chapter 1 is names and terminology. So this is kind of vague, but what I mean by this is stuff like how you translate or transliterate the character's name and any kind of world building terminology that you need to kind of iron out. So for example, like chapter 1 of like every manga generally has tons of world. They say, look, these are the Shinigami, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Which means post office workers.
right, yeah, or Soul Reapers if you're into dubbed Bleach.
Yeah, but 4Kids got that wrong for sure. I mean, they don't even understand that it's actually a political drama about the plight of the post office worker. It's all an allegory.
So like imagine that you're scanlating One Piece, right? The pirate one.
I've never heard of that.
It's kind of niche, but I think the audience will understand. It's about a pirate and he does stuff, but like imagine if in the first chapter you come across the word the Grand Line. That's like a world building terminology kind of thing, right? Like a proper noun. What if as a scanlator you're like, well, technically to be more close to the Japanese, it should be Big Line. And then the whole series you have to call it Big Line.
Oh yeah, I can see how that could be. That's a monumental choice right there. How much worse would it sound if it was the Big Line? We got to get to the Big Line, you guys. Instead, the Grand Line. The Grand Line is much better.
Yeah, and probably the Japanese is Grand Line, but kind of just said with a Japanese accent. I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, terminology is just something that it's hard to get right, I think, sometimes, because like there are some words that just don't translate properly or easily. Like for example, and then you just give up and you don't translate it, which is what some people do anyway.
You say she's a bitch.
Woman.
Hey, Peggy 12. She's a thought. Thought is an acceptable word.
Yes, you're right. My bad. My mistake. Sometimes I get caught up. I was thinking of the Chinese translation, but the proper English translation is indeed thought.
Yeah, and that's an easy mistake to make when you juggle 15 languages in your head all day.
Actually, okay, this is a little bit of a tangent, but like the word
Woman.
means thought in Japanese. Like if you say bitch,
Woman.
it doesn't mean like
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like a promiscuous, loose girl.
It's like a thought.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Look at that. It's like Illuminati level stuff. That's like etymological.
At least Freemasons, maybe not Illuminati. And now we're gonna get angry Freemasons in the comments. What do you mean we're not Illuminati tier?
Well, not anymore. Not since like the 20s.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timeline. All I know is that they have 33 degrees and something about owls and
Moloch, yeah.
pyramids. Yeah. Yeah, Moloch's an owl, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. This
That
is
and
now the
also,
number
like,
one.
Anubis.
This is now the number one Moloch podcast. We've mentioned him twice now, like in each episode.
Excellent. Is it? Oh yeah, last week
Yeah.
we sacrificed children,
Kids,
kids,
not
absolutely,
children.
Yeah. You're right.
Kids.
You're right. Kids, baby goats.
And speaking of getting names right with terminology, kids and goats, it's really important to get character names right as well and romanizations. For example, on my new super secret next project, probably totally going to be the next project TM, but not guaranteed yet. One of the characters' names is Dahlia, right? Kind of a normalish name, right?
Yeah.
However, in chapter like 40, 45, something like that, the chapter is named Dahlia, except it's written in English, and it's spelled Dahilia. This,
Ooh.
to this day, still bugs me, and I don't know how to handle it.
It's like a I don't know how to say. It's like a da with an H at the end, like an H. That type of H. Dahlia.
Well, no, like it's. I would translate her name as, I mean, more literally Dalia, like Dahlia.
Yeah.
Like 3 syllables. I'd probably throw an H in there, just for proper spelling. But in this chapter titled Dahilia, it's Dahilia. There's an extra I in there for no reason. It makes no sense. So I don't know when I get to that character's introduction. I think it's like chapter 5, maybe. I don't know how to name that
It's
character.
the easy fix from the very beginning. Just call her something like Sarah. Just call her
Okay,
Dorothy,
but then when I get to the chapter named Dahilia,
then just leave it.
What
And
do I
people
do?
will just be like, "What is this?"
Nobody
Nobody will notice. Nobody even reads what the chapter titles are.
Yeah, I don't either. Like,
I don't even read the words. I just look at the pictures.
that's true. I think though what I will do, don't quote me on this, but I think I will probably go Dahlia, and then I'll just edit out that extra I in the chapter title.
We're getting real behind the scenes here. We're gonna have to link this
Kind
episode.
of lazy. But another.
I think that's an
names.
acceptable thing to do. That's what I would do.
Yeah, it's a hard call to make, because with names they will often have like official romanization, but those aren't necessarily the most English friendly renderings of those names. Like the name you, Y-U-U.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do a Y-E-W? Right?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Like you walk the line between localizing and translating
Mm-hmm.
with choices like that, and it's a tough call, but I mean, really, you just have to go with your gut, I think.
I think you
if
should
you're
have. You probably should have named him Soldier Boy instead. You cranked, and his companion Crank Dat.
Oh yeah, that would almost work with the kind of mechanical themes there.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh well, I might do that. See, this is the beauty of not having released the first chapter yet, because I still can make these choices, and I can still labor over the choice over and over in my head, like go back and forth.
Until it drives you insane.
Yeah, and then I drop it for like Kimono Friends or something stupid like that.
Well, that would definitely be more popular.
It would.
Actually, I think this one has potential to be pretty popular. I read the first chapter of it, and
Oh, you
seems
finished
pretty
it?
cool. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
as
still need to
as
clean
there's,
up that first chapter some.
It looks pretty good. It would nobody would notice unless you're used to doing it yourself. You
Well,
could throw
I
that up
mean,
on
like,
any of the
Translation
manga
wise as well too. I want to update some of that. That was a rough draft that you saw. Chapter 1 I'll probably officially finish and put out maybe in like 3 weeks or so. When my current project is done, I'll probably, it might be like I dropped the last chapter of my current project and the first chapter of the new one on like the same day, that kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't figured that out.
You got to space out some of your releases. Then you don't want to put them all out at once.
Yeah. I'll figure it out. That's such a long time away. But to kind of wrap up names, there's a couple more things that I would recommend. This tip in particular, I've never followed myself, but I highly recommend it. You should keep like a list of like a terminology terminology glossary kind of thing. It's just kind of like a basic dictionary of like Japanese word and then like your official translated word for it, like Shinigami, and then your official translated word Soul Reaper, right?
And and like Amoto means girlfriend.
No, I mean, in half of the animes it does, but my little girlfriend can't be this cute.
Exactly. Yeah. Isn't that what that show's about?
I think so. I did watch season 1 when it came out. That was like 10 years ago. Oh Lord, time flies.
Yeah. Oh man, we're old now. I don't know if I said this already in this episode, but I'm basically a 65-year-old boomer. I don't know much about this
we're
technology
boomers.
stuff. Speaking of like boomer tech, I don't know if we talked about this before, but this is kind of the flow chart, like how to do it episode. So it's like back in my day, we got our RAWs and distribution from IRC. Do you do any of that, or like where do you find your RAWs?
Oh, that's an interesting point. I think rawdd.com or something like that.
Rad.
That's true. I was thinking slightly higher than Peggy 12 rating. I thought that site name reminded me of something worse. But it's just I download them wherever I can find them. I generally type in name of manga, download raw.
So you just go into the search engines and do that. You don't have like a site that you get all your RAWs from, or a torrent site, like a torrents or something.
No, I don't. Because I don't know these things. I don't know what is good to use. I don't even know how to use IRC. I've never used it.
Interesting. As you can tell, even though we are the #1 Scanlation team in the world, there's still a lot of stuff that you just don't need. You don't really need. It's been actually a running meme. You know, when Scanlators get together, they're like, let's make this as most cryptic and confusing as possible. We'll pretend we use this piece of software, IRC. It's just like, but really they just pretend to open command prompt and they type cmd.exe and like ipconfig, and then you see all the numbers going by. They're like, wow, is that how you get your RAWs? Yeah, man, I'm a hardcore Scanlator. Ooh, look at me hack this Gibson. But it's like, it's really, we're cutting through all the fog. We're getting to the nitty gritty. We're giving you the real scoop on how people scanlate.
Back in high school, I didn't know any command line commands except for color. So
color 0A.
Yeah. I think A1 looks nothing like the steak sauce, if I recall. It looks kind of like a nasty green and like a nasty blue. It was not a good combination. I don't know why I remember
0A is the best. It's the matrix. It's the black background with lime green text.
Oh,
and
then even when I was young, that was too like
you open up the
try
CMD,
hard for me.
You hit color 0A, and then you go ipconfig, and you see the number scroll, and you're like, whoa, what are you doing? Whoa! And your teachers get freaked out. They're like, whoa, we've got a hacker. Whoa, look at this guy. Look at this guy's skills. And then it's like, wow, you're going to be a computer genius. It's like, hey, sport, I see you. Need you on my team.
You say, teacher, give me an A, and I'll close my command prompt. Otherwise, I won't be held responsible for what I do, or something like that.
You extort them. You can't contain me, man.
To cap off that raw location, whatever, I have to end it on a sad note, because I think from now on I'm going to have to start getting my RAWs with real money. I think I'm going to have to start buying the digital like Kindle version or whatever of the monthly releases.
Now that's interesting. So is that like you have to get a Japanese card or so, or what does that entail?
No, Amazon.co.jp. It's pretty simple. They even have an English UI version. It looks just like normal Amazon. Yeah.
That's so all the weebs can order their Pocky.
It is. I can only assume it's specifically for that one purpose. Actually, I don't know if they ship candy. I might look into that.
And the Dakamura pillows and probably all those weird shaped onaholes and you get figures.
I don't know if Amazon sells those.
I'm almost positive they do.
I might have to do some show note research on that later. Last month, I was lucky enough. I don't know why, but Amazon gave me like a free, I guess, trial download. So last month's monthly release, I got for free on Kindle, I guess is their service. But I'm upset. I'll find out in a few days here when the next release comes out. But I might have to shell out like 6 shekels for it. That's a call to action maybe for any
Yeah.
deep-pocketed listener out there who wants to become a
would like
raw
to sponsor
provider.
us. Yeah. And do we have a Patreon? Should we do a Patreon? I don't know.
We might need more than one listener first.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're up to 12 now on the YouTube.
Really excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Humble beginnings.
Absolutely. We all start at 0.
Once the next super secret project gets released and it becomes so popular that it spawns an anime, then we're going to be rolling in the views.
Excellent.
Just you watch. This is all a long-term scheme right here.
It is to
I'm
bring
like,
back niche anime into the forefront. We're going to save anime, you guys. This is it. You actually stumbled on the very first steps of the ragtag bunch of rebels that are going to save anime. We're going to make it real.
Man,
speaking of
that's dangerous, but I want to do it.
Oh, dude, if we made anime real, that'd be the end of the world. It really would.
But in a good way. In a good way.
I mean, it would be the best apocalypse option. Like it would be the best way to end the world, but you'd still be ending the world.
I don't think so. I think it would simultaneously end the world and create the perfect world. Depends on which animes, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the plot of Evangelion. It's like the world ends and then they make a new one where they're Adam and Eve, I think. I'm not really sure.
Really?
I don't know I didn't watch the reboot either.
Out?
Oh, yeah, one girl wins.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so I didn't watch the reboot where they've added more girls. The the blue-haired girl is actually like a magic clone type deal and ends up being the catalyst for the end of the world. The German girl is just a normal tsundere, and ends up winning. Although she does get her arm chopped off and her eye blown out.
Oh, okay.
But I think they end up.
They have robot technology, right? Like they could give her a robot arm at least.
I didn't see anybody with prosthetics like that. But it's also canonically it's different in the movies and the TV show and the reboot. So I haven't kept up with it. I saw it when I was in high school, and it left me depressed and wanting more anime. So it was the wrong move. Same with
I've never seen it.
Very similar was Eureka 7, where I was like, oh man, this has like a pseudo depressing ending, but it's kind of like a metaphysical ending as well. Spoilers, but it's like over a decade old, so if you haven't seen it now, I don't really care. But it's like oh man,
hey,
I
haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, well, it's like characters die, and it's like the seasons it's like a little emotional train for my poor high school aged mind was not great. It led me to walk down the dark path of anime watching.
Oh, you know what did that for me back in high school as well? Welcome to the NHK. That one got me.
That was a good one. Yeah. Although I never watched it. I read it.
Oh, for me, I've watched it twice. Once in high school, once in college, and both times it was a look into my future / present. Except I didn't have a cute young girl to make it all better.
Hold your hand through the existential void. Yeah, absolutely. They don't end up together at the end, do they? I think it was like.
I think it's ambiguous, but he gets like a traffic job where he's like directing traffic, and then that's supposed to be the happy ending.
That doesn't seem like a happy ending to me, but.
It's not good. It's not good.
No, it's like yeah. Well, it's like because when he's working. Yeah, no, it's a great series, but it's like when you're working from such a hole, just getting into neutral is like climbing a mountain at this point. I think we can all relate to that, listeners. I'm looking at you.
Hey, don't forget we're Chads in real life.
Yeah, we're the alpha Chads. We're the alpha, beta, gammas Chads. So all of those combined. Take the red pill,
maybe not the betas.
Well, we're that alpha betas of the gammas.
You know the word alphabet comes from alpha beta?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where does Omega tie into that?
Well, it's when Metal Garurumon and War Greymon fuse, they become Omegamon.
Oh, excellent.
That's
My
how
very
Omega
own
ties
OC.
into it. I had to throw in Digimon somehow. It's like the Digimon tax. Every episode we got to mention, even though I
Gotta
don't think we
mention
did
it
the
at
first
least
episode.
once. No, we didn't. Although all the pre-episode recordings we did mention Digimon
no,
pretty much
no.
every day.
We did mention Digimon. I remember now.
Excellent.
I hate to admit this, but I've listened to that first episode a few times.
I know my voice can be, very soothing. A lot of people
hypnotic.
listen to my videos, as they go to sleep because they want dreams of me.
To sleep.
I watched
You've cured my
myself into
insomnia.
that. Yeah.
Well, I forgot to mention one other terminology thing, just to kind of tie that up again with another bow. Before Big Guy for You, I did do a brief foray into scanlating. The one manga that I did work on was based on a video game property. And with that one, I kind of had the luxury of not having to make up my own specific translations for specific terms because they were already there. So I just had to play the game and like spell names or monster names, that kind of thing. So
well, I don't think we have to tease the people. We can tell them that the game you're talking about is Sword Art Online. You're the official Sword Art Online.
I didn't want to admit to that because it's a dark part of my past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be associated with Sword Art Online. Even to the extent that we're joking about it, I don't want to even let one person believe for half a second that I did work on something Sword Art Online related. But for the gag, I'm willing to go through.
Was it Digibro who did like a 5-hour breakdown of why Sword Art Online is complete trash?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds almost worth
great.
5 hours.
It was really good.
Was it in that their university series where it's like 5 guys sitting in a chair?
No, it wasn't, but that's
chairs?
good too.
I like that format.
Yeah, that was pretty
good format.
And then he also does a big series on the Akashic Records. I think that was a multi-part one where he breaks down.
That's you mean like
where they go to a magic school and there's the girl.
Oh, yeah, that one.
With like light blue hair who's wearing like the outfit that's just pure sex, and it's like you're just
with like weird not suspenders, but like
they're like suspenders. It's like suspenders,
like
but just for your
garter
midriff,
belt
like,
or something.
Oh my God,
oh,
that's
what
your school uniform.
Yeah.
Enroll me right now, like let's go. But it's like basically all the girls are just walking around in like stripper lingerie. It's like
do they have heels?
I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they ever show you their feet. I don't know.
Feet are too hard to draw, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
It's like in Fire Emblem, the first 3DS one where they didn't have any feet.
They just had the nubs. And then they overcompensated the next one by making the main character barefoot. They're like, look, we can even do toes. Like, sorry, you foot fanatics. You didn't get anything in the last game. Here's your feet, or here's your waifu with feet.
Except they didn't extend the face touching mini game down to the feet level, so they have to step their game up with the next Fire Emblem.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm sure they will.
And then all of you filthy gaijin won't get the face petting mini game because they took that out, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe so. And
so you know
what's dumb about that? Not so much the censorship, because we know they're going to do that anyway, but like they were in talks to like, how do we bring back Advanced Wars, and they're like, well, they canceled it because we can't see how we could incorporate waifus into it. And it's like,
what do you mean?
It's like, yeah, first of all, what do you mean? Because there's a ton of captains. I think it was Rachel was a good looking one, and
the
there
DS,
was, yeah, and then there was the other one with the big wrench. There's at least 2 there, and you've got
Andy. That was a guy.
Yeah, well, he's like a little Shota, but then there's like also like the mommy GF of the girl who looks like
she's like a sergeant or something. Oh wait, no, I don't know that one.
There's a ton of waifus in there. Like, how could they not? I mean, like, there's at least 5. And you can add more.
You would make more, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can be like,
make 50 Fire Emblem characters.
We stumbled into another country that's just full of teenage girls. What are we gonna do? Like, oh, we'll bring them onto our team. Like, oh, I guess we have to marry one, and then you get new units somehow. Like,
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, like if you like marry like cross country or factions, you get like some kind of weird
Yeah,
hybrid
absolutely.
unit or something.
they kind
be
of do
so
that
cool.
in StarCraft, not through marriage, but like you pick what in the campaign you pick what tree you want to go down. So you're like, do I want my banglings to like jump over rocks, or do I want them to explode on impact or something like that? Explode more. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was always
see,
fun.
you could do that so easily.
Hire me, Nintendo. Let's do it. I got it.
Yeah, if only. I wonder how well Nintendo pays. I wonder if they're
Probably
hiring.
not very well
Probably not, because it's like a dream job for everyone that
for all the
like they
Westerners.
could get away. They could get away with like paying you minimum wage, and
Mhm.
you would, they would get away with having you pay them to work for them.
Yeah. A lot of people would. They just love the Bing Bing Wahoo.
Yeah, everyone loves Bing Bing Wahoo.
Bing Bing Wahoo Wahoo. Yeah. So we talked about terminology. We talked about where
Yeah.
you find raws.
Yep.
What else did we talk about?
Earlier we talked about stuff like font choice. You have to get a good font
Excellent.
choice.
Yes, that's true.
Stuff like leaving in honorifics, that kind of like translation conventions that you should kind of lock in on the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all the chapter stuff. We could do a brief like a walkthrough, I guess, of how to scanlate. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it can't hurt to kind of elaborate on that.
Well, we're at 40 plus minutes now, so do we want to do a brief summation of that and then break that off in other episodes? Or do we want to tease it and have them listen to the next week's episode?
We'll do it because it's just like I'll go through it in like 2 minutes. So like the way I do it, I use paint.net, which is a program, not a website, and I'll open up the raws in like just a new file, right? Just the raw page, and I will create like what I call the clean layer, where I just like erase all the text, and then I create the transparent text layer on top of that, and then I make the clean layer invisible. I type in all the text, keeping the original Japanese visible, so I kind of type over it, and it looks like a jarbled mess when I'm done. And then I make the clean layer visible, and then you export to PNG, and bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing,
That's the
bing,
basics.
wahoo.
Bada bing, bing, wahoo.
Wahoo.
Then you zip it up, and there's like 100 proofreading steps. You zip it up, and then you ship it off.
Well, where do you ship
And
it
now
to?
you're professional.
What sites do you post to?
Oh, I just do manga decks because I don't know any better. For all I know, that's the best one, but for all I know, it's the worst one.
Yeah, well, ever since they took down
well-
Potato, I don't know what the de facto upload site is. I know people do it to like IRC, or at least they used to, and then I'm sure there's an
Yeah.
RSS feed that all the other sites just scrape, because it's gotten to the point where actually you'll upload something and it'll be like less than an hour and it's on all the sites. So I'm sure as long as you upload to one, you'll get all of them.
I've seen one site though that hasn't scraped all of my stuff, so I don't know if they do that manually or not. I don't even remember what the site was, so it's not worth it for me to figure it out.
This puts us on the an intro and a segue, if you will, to next week's episode, which is all the good places that you can read your manga online, where you can get them, all the websites. I said next week's, but I don't know if it's next week's. Could be an episode then. I don't know.
Let's not do next week. I don't want to have to do that research. Let's do some other week.
So and it's also doesn't. When are you listening to this? Who knows? You could be listening to this in
True.
2050 when it's enshrined in like you're watching this in a movie theater, like as historical records on how anime eventually corrupted the minds of the youth and created World War VII.
On how anime became real. This is the first step right here.
Yeah, they're like this ragtag group of misfits, came together. They started a podcast. People started listening. They started calling into the show, and eventually there was a whole empire dedicated to making anime real. A waifu for everybody. That's our goal here.
And on the topic, real quick, on time traveling listeners, if you're not a time traveler and you're from the relative present, then I'm gonna give you a shout out recommendation to go read a chapter that will probably come out the same day as this podcast, maybe a day or two after the podcast. It's called A Place Further Than the Universe. Go check it out. Go read my stuff. Because I haven't released a chapter of that since we started podcasting.
Uh-oh.
So the listeners probably will not be aware of that because I haven't advertised a podcast in that manga yet. Does that make sense? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Hit us on the sites to see what we output. And where can they find us to see that stuff?
Where can they find us?
You throwing it back. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. You upload all the stuff. We've got the YouTube. Which
No,
is
you-
just
Yeah,
No,
you
you
upload
what?
this.
yeah. So I
You upload all
on the
this.
YouTube and the podcast. You can find us on Anchor.fm. Just search the flight plan. You can also find us on Big Guy for You on YouTube.
Right.
There's other sites too. There's a what is it called? SoundCloud. There's a SoundCloud one. We're right next to Post Malone. We're gonna be beating him out for #1 pretty soon. Him and Little Uzi Vert. So you can go find us there. It's also Big Guy for You, or you can just search the flight plan.
Did you say Uzi Bird?
Lil Uzi Vert. VERT.
Oh man, I'm too old. I can't. I don't even want to know what that is. But as for the manga, where you can check out Big Guy Scanlations. Well, first of all, actually, you can find links to the podcast and the manga at gab.ai/Big Guy #4 letter U, the canonical spelling of Big Guy for You. You could read it probably on any of the sites, but I upload to MangaDex. You can reach us there or on Gab or what was that other one? Manga Updates.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some other. I don't know. You can message wherever. We'll figure it out. Do a carrier pigeon.
You can do a carrier pigeon just like Mike Tyson, or you can just find us on Pornhub/Big Guy for You.
Well, that might be a different Big Guy. Maybe don't look that up.
No, this is
Yeah,
a Christian
yeah,
podcast.
those are the places. Yep. Peggy 12 Christian Podcast.
Peggy 12
It's in the game.
in the game. All right, well, Tom, it's been great talking to you today.
True that.
Do you have anything else to say to the listeners?
No. No, let's crash this podcast, dude. No survivors.
no
You know the
survivors.
drill.